our viewers and readers. I'm here today with Vasudha Rai. If you're on Instagram, chances are you already know who she is. One of India's most renowned beauty influencer. She's a beauty columnist, certified yoga teacher, TEDx speaker, author, and features on podcasts as well. She has previously worked as the beauty director for many women's magazines like Cosmopolitan, Harper's Bazaar, and is also a columnist for many other publications. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here with us today. It's an honor to be talking with you, honestly.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
So I'll jump right into it. How did your journey with beauty and wellness begin in the first place? Was it something you always dreamt of pursuing
Well,
in future?
I was naturally, I had a natural affinity towards beauty. And because, I come from a family of women who like to take care of themselves, my mother and my grandmother and whatever. So, it was something that I was naturally drawn to. But
Mhm.
it all started with there was an opening which was there in Cosmopolitan magazine. And my friend told me that there's an opening for a beauty writer. And I went and took a copy test. And that's how it all actually like properly began.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you recently launched your book Rituals, and congratulations on that.
Thank
And
you.
how did it come about? Like the inspiration behind it, and how's the journey been for you writing that?
Ritual was a little more challenging to write than Glow because Glow is very straightforward. It was like, okay, 50 herbs, and you could
Mm.
follow the same format. But first, let me tell you how I came up with the idea of Ritual. I felt like wellness goes beyond just food or beyond just exercise. I think wellness is a mix of how we live our lives in general. So I wanted to write a book that would be more about things to do than
Mhm.
just nutrition or just face masks or whatever. I just wanted to bring that whole idea of and also like with the whole with the whole COVID thing happening in between, and all of us were stuck at homes. Like, how many movies can you watch? How many books can you read, right?
Yeah,
So that
true,
was
true.
really the right time for me. I've and also I've always been into rituals, whether it is I've done 2 levels of Reiki healing. I've been into crystals. I've done yoga. I do a lot of like cleansing kriyas. And
Mm.
I just felt like there should be a book that is sort of like just a beginner level, like people who are not into rituals at all, just make it less intimidating for them, so that they can just like get into this sort of field and just start practicing. Of course, if you want to get to the deeper levels of these rituals, you have to have a guru or whatever. But I just wanted like an introductory book, just to make them a little bit more magical and easy to do, rather than just like people getting intimidated by them.
Mm.
So, but the thing is, that Ritual was much more difficult to write than Glow, because Glow is very straightforward, and I just had to come up with a format, and then it was just like fill in the blanks. I wrote Glow, in fact, in 3 months, but
Mm.
Ritual was much more challenging because every ritual, depending on what it was, every chapter needed a different sort of treatment, and because you want every chapter to be magical and interesting.
Mm.
So there was a lot work that I put into Ritual. It took me about 2 years to write it. Uh,
Right.
and I'm a fast writer. It doesn't take me that long to write, but it was just, the whole thinking process of like,
Mm.
how do I first of all make it mine? How do I make
Mm.
it magical? How do I make it simple, and easy to follow? So it was a little bit more challenging, but I'm very happy with the book.
Mhm. So just to bounce back on, like how there are different aspects of wellness and beauty which you've been, been curious of. So you've been in this industry for so long. Like, what changes do you see in the industry happening? Like personally, what do you observe from back when you started to now? How beauty is perceived, how the industry works now.
Well, speaking of India, we have so much in India now, and like the internet has just really opened up the whole
Mm.
world, right?
True. Mm, true.
Earlier I remember like when I started my beauty writing journey was in 2002, and that time, there used to be that there used to be there used to be 2 3 companies that would get like beauty products to India. There was Dior available, there was YSL available, and this was when cosmetics were available only in Shoppers Stop and thing. Online shopping
Right.
ka to khair, there was no concept of online shopping, right?
Mm. Yeah.
um so a body shop lip balm was
Mm.
considered to be a like
True.
it was a luxury, when people
Mm.
would go traveling abroad. What do you want? I want like body shop lip balm. And when you'd
Mm.
get that body shop lip balm, it would be like, wow, you're holding the power in your hands. And so there's been this company called Beauty Concepts that used to get, I think Beauty Concepts had YSL, I think so. I could be wrong, but and Baccaros, which is now Parcos,
Uh-huh.
used to have Clarins and Dior. No, no, or was it Baccaros which had YSL? But basically, the point is that between these two companies, the fragrance and beauty, the international fragrance and beauty industry was divided. Then I left, for abroad, whatever. And by the time I came back, there was a whole different beauty industry. Estee Lauder had come to India, and they really changed the game.
Mm.
Then Nykaa happened, they really changed the game. And when Nykaa got Estee Lauder on board
Mm.
for Nykaa looks, that's when really things started changing, because with Estee Lauder on board, um, gave like Nykaa some sort of, that big sort of like credibility from a
Mm.
luxury perspective. So with them
Right.
on board, they could get these other brands that they have now, like Murad and all the other brands. So it's really changed, and even in terms of aesthetics, like it was. I mean, how many girls used to wear red lipstick in 2002? Hardly, right? Hardly.
Mm. Mm.
And now it's like you go to a mall and it's just become very normal. It's become very common. Uh, we're not wanting for anything now. And in
Mm.
2002 we were wanting for everything. I remember, like, me and my friend, when we were working in Cosmopolitan, we used to open all these foreign magazines that used to come, because in Cosmopolitan was part of the Hearst group. We used to get all those magazines, and we used to get Allure, because that used to be the beauty bible. And we used
Yeah.
to go through that, and we used to look, oh my god, look at this Bon Bell lip gloss, wow, this is amazing. Wet and Wild, like every product we used to like lust over. And then during those days, every magazines, they used to have those like little perfume thingies, the perfume samples.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we used to pull out the perfume samples, we used to rub those, little perfume
Mm.
samples on us.
Yes.
And we used to be wanting a lot. And
Mm.
India really did not have so many options. And now, I mean, there's nothing that we don't have, right?
Mm. True, true. Yeah. And what are some kind of challenges that you had to face throughout your journey?
Um, I guess in between, because of my health problems, I just stopped writing for the
Mm.
longest time. So the biggest challenge was, how do I get back to writing? The biggest
Mm.
first challenge was like, how do I get back into the industry? Then I got like one freelance project, and it was like, writing is also a practice. It's like, you know, um, it's like, if you practice yoga, you become better at it. Same as for writing, right? So I hadn't written for 3-4 years because of my health. And the first article that I wrote for this magazine, it had to actually be co-written by somebody else, because it was so badly written by
Mm.
me. So it was like a struggle in terms of like getting back to the industry and getting back to writing.
Mm.
Challenging. Then after, I mean, anyway, it happened, and slowly and gradually over the years, I started writing well again. I got back into the industry. Then after
Mm.
quitting my job, that was the other challenge, that how do I establish myself as an individual?
Mm.
And then while establishing myself as an individual, again the health challenges came back. And then, how do you balance like work and whatever? So challenges never stop. You just have to figure out, like, every challenge requires its own unique way to be handled. And
Mm.
that's what life is. You have to
Right.
handle that challenge and move on.
Great. Yeah. So those are challenges, and what are some things which you're most proud of, like your milestones, achievements?
I'm really proud that I have managed to sort of move from a traditional background like magazines and journalism, and
Mm.
I have been able to make a mark on Instagram,
Mm.
and have like a really good following of women. And just somehow, like, a lot of people are like, oh, they find it really embarrassing to be an influencer. And for journalists, it does get like, when you're into serious journalism, you're like, oh, I don't want to be an influencer and everything.
Mm.
But the thing is, I'm really proud, first of all, to be an influencer, right? Because
Mm.
how many people have made that transition from being a traditional journalist to, social media? So
Right. Right.
that's the first thing that I'm really proud about, because such a lovely community of women I have. And I'm
Mm.
telling you, my book Glow became an instant bestseller because of my Instagram following. Because I posted it and like everybody bought it. Like everybody bought it.
Mhm.
People, and that's the other thing that I'm proud of is my are my books. Then of course I'm very proud of my books. Um, they're my babies. I'm actually very proud of all the work that I'm doing, whether it's my columns, it's my books, it's my Instagram profile, it's my podcast. I'm very
Mm.
proud of the relationships that I have managed to build
Right.
with my editors, with my audience, with my publisher. So yeah, I mean, I'm really proud that I've managed to establish myself independently out of instead of just being, associated with one brand. I mean, I used to love my
Right.
job as beauty director of Harper's and
Mm.
Cosmo, and sometimes I used to think that if I'm not this, then what am I? I was very
Mm-hmm.
heavily leaning into that identity. So I'm really
Yeah.
happy that I've been able to establish myself as a woman and as like, an individual.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I'll just bounce back on that. Like you said, you've built this community on Instagram, and I feel like you're one of the few influencers who are actually very transparent and honest about what kind of content goes on your profile, especially your product reviews, because I've been a follower for so long and I love those. So I've always wanted to ask,
Thank
like,
you.
how do you keep yourself so genuine? Like, how do you maintain that honesty even after so long?
I feel like I mean, the thing is that it's part of my personality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see it as like मैंने बहुत बड़ा तीर मार लिया just by being honest. I think that's really scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Better,
And
yeah.
I feel like every influencer, the intention of every influencer is the same.
Mm.
Some people may come across differently, but I don't think anybody intends to be dishonest and be like, you know अब मैं बैठ
Mm.
करके इनका I mean, at least that's what I
Yeah,
assume.
surely.
I don't think anybody
Mm-hmm.
intends to be dishonest. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I have the added responsibility
Mm.
of still being a serious journalist, right?
Mm. Right, right.
I mean, and you being a journalist, you know that. I mean,
Mm.
we have to be truthful. We have
I
to
see.
have
Yeah.
that integrity. I mean, what is a journalist without the integrity?
Mm.
Since I'm also a columnist, I'm an author. I need to sort of um,
Keep things real. Yeah.
keep things real and be a little bit. I mean, I have that responsibility on my shoulder, to be honest.
Mm. I see. Okay. And how do you manage to stay on top of your game every day?
I live and breathe beauty. I just love it. I feel
Mm.
like I was born to do this.
Mm.
um it's just comes very natural to me. Like there are some people who are born athletes
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
uh I'm just a born beauty writer you know
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see what you mean.
so I mean, I can't really say how I do it, but
Mm.
I just love every aspect of it. I love taking care of myself, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just something that comes very naturally to me. Can't explain it.
Mm. Yeah. That's great. So I'm sure, like, there are highs and then there are lows as well. Like everyone, there are good days and bad days. So how do you deal with those negative emotions?
I mean, these are just emotions. They just pass. Some days they are good, some days they are bad. I mean, that's part of life. I don't really have like a game plan of dealing with these emotions. Sometimes I like to do some work
Mm-hmm.
so that I feel like, okay, even if I'm feeling like shit, at least I've finished a story or I've cleaned my cupboard or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, for me, like the default mode is always to be productive.
Mm.
So I do that. Like, now I've started changing that to sort of even dealing with the negative emotion, that where is it coming from? Why am I
Mm.
thinking like that? What is the root cause of this? And,
Right.
all of that. I've started questioning
Yeah.
those. But my default mode is to just like do something productive, and tomorrow will be a better day.
Mm. Yeah.
Hmm.
Since you're a Peak Life Women Inspire, what would be your definition of an empowered woman?
I think anybody who's comfortable to 100% be themselves.
Mm.
You know, actually 100% is too much because we're already we're always influenced by somebody or the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as much as we can, we just be ourselves and we live a life that is true to ourselves. um I think that's the definition of an empowered woman.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any word of advice for, aspiring women who would love to be the same as who you are one day?
Sorry.
Like, do you have any word of advice for, women who would love to be who you are today? Like, on Instagram and as an influencer, as a beauty columnist, but basically women aspiring to be entrepreneurs.
I feel like there is no substitute for hard work,
Mm-hmm.
uh and discipline. Sometimes you just have to sometimes you just have to force yourself to do it.
Mm,
And every aspect of your work, like, even though I love beauty and whatever, I still sometimes have to force myself to finish a story.
right.
So don't expect everything to be sunshine and roses. There is no substitute for hard work. Most
Mm,
of the successful women I know work like dogs. I
mm,
work like almost 7 days a week. Of course, I don't work the entire day, but I work my ass off.
mm,
So there's no shortcuts to it. It's
mm-hmm,
taken me 20 years to reach here.
mm,
Um, and, through ups and downs and whatever, I've just not lost my determination, my discipline, and my that basic, that basic nature of working
mm,
that's what I tell some people, that I really have I'm like a worker. I don't have like a queen bee mentality. I have a worker bee mentality. I'm
mm,
very mehenti.
mm.
So, that's it.
I see, yeah. Great. My last question for you: what was your success mantra?
Same. Work, hard work, mehnat karo,
Oh,
phal milega.
mm,
There is no shortcuts. There's really no shortcuts in life. You can't just wish things away, and you can't just wish things to come your way.
mm,
You know?
right.
So you just have to take each day as it comes, give it your best, and also be smart.
Mm,
You also have to work hard, and you also have to work smart.
mm, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, cool. Okay, that was great. Thank you so much.
Okay.